Hello, Lizzie here. Today I'm going to show you how to make the 4-seam purse with a magnetic closure. Hurrah! So all you need to do is cut your fabric out. You need an outer and you need the lining. Now all of these instructions are down below in the description box of the length of fabric you need and all the information that you could possibly need. Right, so with my outer fabric, my main fabric, I've actually stabilised it. I've put some interfacing on there just to make it a little bit more stiffer, and on my lining I've just put a tiny little piece right at the top here. It's just a little circle cut with pinking shears, and that's good to go because it's got to take the strength of the magnetic clasp. So the first thing you need to do is measure up 10.5 inches from your bottom edge. So 10.5. Just draw a little line straight across your purse. So this is a purse or a wallet. So I've marked my line, but I need to get the centre, for this is my magnetic closure. So I'm just going to fold my fabric in half, give it a little squidge, and that gives me my centre line. So I'll just put a cross there. Now with the lining piece, I'm measuring down 1.25 inches from, this will be the top. So 1.25 inches is here. Again, I'm just going to draw a line. You don't really need to go all the way across, but I'll go across my interfacing so I can see it. And again, I'm going to fold my fabric in half, get a little crease line there and do a cross. And that's the centre point of where I need to put my magnetic closure. So don't forget, the 1.25 inches is from the top, and the 10.5 inches is from the bottom edge. And you could mark this, you could do a little sort of dash line so you know that's your seam line. So there we go. So now we need to put our magnetic closure in. Now I use a rubber mat to protect my table, and I also use a punch. Now you could just use a bradawl to make your holes. So we need the thicker parts of our magnetic closure. They all want to stick together, and obviously the backing as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now, you could put your backing down and put the circle over that cross that you made. Make a little mark either side, because magnetic closures are pretty much all the same, where you've got that lovely sort of centre mark and the dashes either side, and it's really clear to see when you actually open up a magnetic closure. So all I'm going to do now, and if I just hold that up so you can see quickly what I've done, I've marked those 2 lines there, and I'm just going to put holes through my project using my tool. So that's the 2 holes made like that. And all I'm going to do is put the thick part of the magnetic closure on the right side of my purse and just push the legs through. Turn it over, just flip it over so the legs are now sticking proud, and I'm going to put the backing on like this, and your legs can go in or your legs can go out. So these are the legs, the prongs that are sticking up. So I'm just going to push them in with my finger. Let's just use the back of my scissors. It's always easier, especially when you're in a hurry. So we'll just push those down and push that in like that. And if you wanted to, you could get a little hammer and give it a little knock there just to make sure it's flat. So that's our first magnetic closure put on. So let's do the lining. So again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. I've got my marks already made, so we'll put our backing on there, pop it over that centre cross, and then just do our little lines here. There we go. And again, I'm just going to put my holes in like I did before. You could, I've got a rubber mat, but you could use a piece of card to do that. It's not a problem. It's not essential. So the flat side of my popper is going on that side. This is the magnetic clasp. So let's just pop those legs through. So that's how it looks when it's just pushed through. And there's the back with the legs coming out. So then I get the backing and just pop that onto the legs like that, and again you can push those in if you want to. They're fairly soft, it's up to you how you do this. Just get my scissors again. I find those really quite handy for pushing that flat. And again with this one as well, just push it over like that, and again a little tap with the hammer if you feel that you need to. There we go, nice and flat. So there's our hardware installed. How easy is that? So that's the magnetic clasp. So now we need to stitch these 2 together. So you need to remember which is your bottom edge, which is this one here, and this is my top edge here. So we're going to do right sides together. and you could use your pins. So don't forget, this is your bottom seam here, and we're going to join those two pieces of fabric up with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'll just bring the machine in. So just 1/4 inch, thereabouts, don't need to measure. Back stitch just to hold. Just lengthen that stitch a little bit. All the way to the other side. Back stitch again, just to hold. Get in the habit of doing that. And then all you need to do is press that seam nice and flat. So turn that through. So that's what that looks like now. One long piece. So flip that over. Now, instead of pressing, I'm just going to top stitch. So that's actually your second seam. So I'm just going to top stitch those together. You don't need to do a back stitch on this because this is purely decorative. So my back stitch, my top stitch is about 1/8 inch from the top of the seam there. There we go. So that is now top stitched across here, and there's our clasp down there. So the next thing to do is fold it over so your lining is facing you. Okay, so this is the bottom edge just here, and my magnetic closure on my lining is facing away from me. And just get all those pieces lined up. Give that a press in a second. And then you need to fold this. So we're going to fold this right up to the top. So that first fold is like that. I'll turn it to the side so you can see. Now it's about 4 inches. You can measure this if you want, but it's about 4 inches from the edge here is where my sort of seam is going to go, the one I've just top stitched, and just sort of fold that down, give it a little squidge there. And then all you're going to do is fold this one up. So just meet that first seam that you just folded up there, and give that another little bit of a squidge. So you can see that's kind of like the makings of our purse there. Now you can at this stage round these corners off, so I will do that. You can either use, I don't know, a little sort of top of a can or something to do a perfect circle, or just go freestyle. That's what I'll do. So I'll do that now. And try and get them equal, obviously. So I'm just curving that around. It does look a little bit neater when you do that, rather than leaving a sort of squared off corner. So tiny little pieces. And then what we're going to do is actually bring the back of this up to the front. So this is how it looks. Okay. And this is our back here. So I'm just going to hold on to this layer, and I'm bringing that backing round to the front. Like that. So it's made a sandwich. So now we've got raw edges and wrong sides facing us there and on the back as well. Okay, and then I would really suggest that you clip this together or use your pins, and just make sure that all your edges are meeting. And you could press, you know, when we fold it up, you could press all that together so it stays nice and neat and flat. It does make a difference. So there we are. So there's our purse. So now we're going to do the third seam. So all you're going to do, I'll do this so you can see it more clearly, is that you're going to stitch from here all the way around to here and stop, do a back stitch. Jump over to here, do a back stitch, and come all the way up to this side here. So we're counting that as one seam. You're leaving that turning gap there. Now somebody did suggest to me a little while ago, why don't you leave the turning gap in the side? Well, I understand what you're saying with that, but in actual fact, there's so many layers where all those folds are, it's just not practical to do that. Try it, try and see what you think. So just coming round that corner really slowly, back stitch, and I'm just going to hop across my work, bring it over to the other side, start with a back stitch, take my clips out and just work your way around that corner there. You might want to do that in little bite-sized chunks. And then all the way down. Now you might want to use a walking foot because you've got loads of layers there. Let's move that out the way. So let's just cut our stitch there because that will pucker that up. And what you can do is cut all this fabric down. Now, I sometimes like to use pinking shears with this. So just cut some of that bulk away. And again here. And the bottom edge here where all the seams meet, all the folds, all I'm going to do is just snip those corners off just so there's less bulk. Okay, so now obviously you've got this turning gap. So what are we going to do? We're going to turn it. Now, it's not really fiddly. You just want to get those corners out. So don't forget you've got lots of pockets going on here. So you want to get all those corners of the pockets nicely pushed out. And because we've left a really good turning gap, so easy to do. And I think you're going to make loads of these. So there we are. So the next thing to do is just get that nice curve going on here and here. There we go. And give it a good press. And you obviously want to turn that turning gap in. What I'll do is I'll do a quick press on this. So I'll bring my mat in, just turn my iron up a little bit, give it a little press so it's nice and flat. And then the other thing to do is just, if you can, got a minute, just to press that turning gap in. So I'm going to hurry with this so I don't hold you up, but you get the gist. So just turn that turning gap in and then you're going to top stitch. Now I'll leave it like this, I'll top stitch in a minute. So the top stitch is actually your fourth edge. So you're going to stitch those lovely layers together, get it nice and straight. And in actual fact, I've glued mine most of the time. So now what you've got is a gorgeous purse with two different pockets, front and back, and you've got the magnetic closure. So all we need to do is pop that over, and there we are. We've got a purse, 4 seams only, with a magnetic clasp. I hope you make loads.